So, mind give us a karakia for the day, thanks.
E te atua kaharawa ki a tatu mai koe ki a mātou I tēnei rā, mana ki te a mātou I mahi katoa, I rungo I te ingoa o te matua o te tama o te wairua tapu, ake ake, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Councillor Truman. Item 1, apologies. We have Councillor Kingi, who's up at the Honourable Koro Wetteri's tangi today. Do I have any, otherwise it's a full house. Could I have a move, please? Moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against. Item 2, conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today? No. Item 3, confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting on the 30th of April 2018, 3.1. Do I have any amendments to those minutes or points of clarification? No. Well, I could ask for a mover on those minutes, please. Moved by Councillor Boddy, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. 3.2, Ordinary Council meeting on the 29th of May 2018. Any points of clarification on those ones? No, thank you. Could I ask for a mover? Councillor Jollins, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Truman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Receipt of the minutes of the Ordinary Emergency Management Committee meeting on the 7th of May, 4.1. Any clarification of those minutes? No? Could I ask then for a mover, please, for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 4.2, the Ordinary Turangi Tongariro Community Board meeting on the 8th of May, 2018. Any points of clarification on those community board meetings? The meeting? No. Could I have a mover, please, then? Councillor Stewart, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Audit and Risk Committee meeting, 21st of May, 2018, 4.3. Councillor Boddy.
Do we approve the reports on the hearings we had for the long-term plan, those meetings? We've done it. Okay. Well, I believe Councillor Rankin, you were at Turangi, were you not? Long-term plan hearing? Your name doesn't appear on the list of those that attended.
What's that one?
2nd of May.
2nd of May. Oh, so it's going back? Okay, we'll just add that in. Yep. All right, amended. Okay, thank you very much. Audit and Risk. Have a mover, please, for the Audit and Risk. Okay. Oh, steady. Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Jollins.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was actually. Sorry. Were you?
Do you want?
I wanted to just ask a question.
Of the Audit and Risk Committee? Yes, certainly. Sorry. Yep.
Sorry, I just got
go
to
ahead.
buck the trend.
Yeah,
right.
No, that's all right.
Just under 3.1, the senior leadership team was developing an action plan following receipt of the council mark report. I do appreciate. I mean, this was getting much, and I do appreciate we've been through the LTP and we dealt with traffic lights with dogs and all sorts of stuff. But I was just wondering if there was any movement on that.
Yeah, I can respond to that. So some of our team have been working with LG&Z around some good practice work. So they're just in their second meeting next week. We did intend to put something on next audit and risk agenda, but we felt it was just a wee bit soon, so it's going to be the next one. But we'll have a full action plan there, and I guess then the question comes back to council as to where you want to head going forward. Okay, so we are working on it, but it is quite hard work trying to get that good practice together. Okay.
Oh, okay. You happy to move those minutes, Councillor Park, or has that already been done? Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Jollins. All those in favour, please say aye. The Ordinary Fences, Roading, Reserves and Dog Committee meeting.
Chairman, yeah. On 4.3, there's a comment made on page 4.3, the audit risk.
Yeah.
Risk. There's a comment made on page 74 of the agenda, but page 2 of the minutes, which makes the comment: the consultation document highlighted everything it should. We've just been discussing dogs, which wasn't. Is that a statement that may need an amendment? It states here, the consultation document highlighted everything it should. Well, we've just realised that we didn't highlight the dogs adequately enough.
It was a record of what was said at the time. It might be incorrect now, but it's you're approving the minutes at the time of the meeting.
Okay, so
Just confirming.
But we can make a note.
no. Okay. Right. Thank you.
In the, okay, in the text, okay. All right, Fred Committee. 4.4. Any points of clarification of those minutes? Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you. Just in regards to 4.5 with the licence to occupy with the art in the park, who should I be looking at? I just wondered, like, it's sort of, I was concerned at the time because Active Arts were actually not renewing it. It was sort of like a new group with Active Art members. I just want to make sure that all our relationships are tidy and no one got upset.
As far as I'm aware, no one's been upset. It hasn't come across my table, but I will check. Thanks.
Okay. I have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Taupo Airport Committee meeting on the 11th of June, 4.5. And there's a recommendation there too? Yeah. Okay, so this is the ordinary, and there's a recommendation there which is pertaining to Airbus. Confirmation of that job. Do I have any? Oh, there it is here. Cool. That Airbus, the expenditure of 84,000. Airbus, who's the chair? Who can answer that? Airbus, or one of our staff probably. Yeah, John. Good afternoon, John.
Yeah, so if you recall, this was, yep, we're clear on it now?
Yeah. Councillor Jolland, so Councillor Harvey was just wanting to know what it's involved in. This is the planning.
That's to do with the master plan for the airport, and the Ministry of Transport has approved the fiscal their share, so this is our share. So this is our master plan for the airport area.
Just for clarity, that's the total cost, of which 50% of that is the drawdown from the reserves the MOT are entitled to at the airport.
And this plan enables an application to go through to the Regional Growth Fund for
That's
the
correct.
extension of the airport. Yeah. Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Just to clarify, being a CTO, this amount of money will come from the Airport Authority itself?
Yep.
I'm just wondering, does that committee not have the terms of the delegation to, and that's why it's
No,
come
that's
here?
why it's come back here.
Right, okay, thank you.
So any unbudgeted expenditure for the airport needs to come back to full council for approval.
Councillor Hickling.
So, John, you're just saying that that's the total cost. So why is it the total unbudgeted if we're getting 50% from?
No, so that's. I'll put it really crudely. I'm sure Alan will correct me if I'm wrong here, but this basically comes out of the bank account. So 50% of that bank account, the MOT are entitled to as part of their share, the 50-50 share. So what they requested was their cost for this was drawn down out of that bank account. Okay, is that clear as mud?
Yeah.
I'm just going to Barry for yeah. Yeah. So
that's yeah.
So
theoretically, that half that we've got, the cash that we've got in reserve there, is MOTs. So this is where this is coming from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In the yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Airbus are the right people, the reputable outfit to do this.
Yep. So the aim is to get the PFG. I don't know where that came from. The Provincial Growth Fund application in November. So we're working really hard on it at the moment, and we've had MB in this morning actually just finalising the detail on that. We intend to bring that back to council to give you a full oversight of that as soon as we're really clear on it.
Good. Thank you, John. Okay, do I have any other points of clarification on those minutes? So can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Jollins, seconded by Councillor Rankin. And with that recommendation, all those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. 5.1, confirmation of extraordinary council meeting on the minutes of the 8th of June. Do I have any points of clarification of those minutes?
Just a point of clarification from me. I note that the minutes are quite silent on the discussion that we had leading up to that resolution. And I think in the interest of transparency and accountability so that the community can see what decision-making process we went through, that we should have a more robust set of minutes. I raised at the time several issues as to why I was voting against that item and provided notes for the minutes, but the minutes are silent on those matters, and I'd like to know why, please.
So the full minutes are in the confidential section. There's still parts of those minutes that are confidential, and if anybody wants access to them, they'd have to go through the legal report process.
I'm struggling to see how our discussion that led to us making this decision was confidential, and that the views and the thoughts that we shared would be confidential. So I'm a bit gobsmacked to find that they would still be in confidence. I would challenge that.
Are we still yet to sign the bond, the actual agreement? Yeah. Just on checking with our commercial manager whether there's still some implications around the actual commercial side of this.
We are just going through the process as far as that investment is concerned, just like we do with any other investment.
Yep.
That is independent of this particular resolution, because governance were just supporting if we wanted to do that investment.
But Mr. Menhennet, all the points that have been made in the press release that have been issued to the public talk about the commercial nature of that venture. There is nothing in any of the discussions that we had that would be commercially sensitive, and I think the public have a right to know what discussions were held, and at the moment I feel like it's been hidden behind closed doors. I'm really frustrated.
Yeah, and I believe the confidential minutes don't explain that either. No.
Okay, well, the other councillors, well, we didn't have a problem. Yeah.
Stephen?
Well, no, we're not, yeah. Councillor Body.
I support Councillor Jolin's comments, and if we read the minutes, it actually states the resolutions have been released from confidence in accordance with resolution blah blah blah. Why the hell is there some stuff not there? I mean, if I get a phone call, why did you do what you've done? Am I going to be breaching confidence because I may release something that should have been released anyway? You know, we had an editor of our paper said the same thing.
My understanding was the whole thing be released in confidence, but I want to just check with our commercial manager whether there's anything, because we have a...
Number 3 on the resolution says that the matter remains in confidence until central government funding has been confirmed. It's been confirmed, so therefore nothing should be in confidence.
Yep. So
it should all be released.
So, yep, release it. And,
so, yep. And I've got another copy of my notes, which I'm more than happy to give Shaney to include in the minutes. We need to be able to say to people, we've made the right decision and you're confident you've made the right decision, then get it out there. And the debate at all, it's been very one-sided at this stage, and I'm frustrated.
The councillor's happy with the Councillor Jolin's notes to be included? Absolutely. That was the intention of the meeting. There was no, but sometimes these arrangements, there's a couple of weeks just to make sure everything's all tickety-boo. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, there's the confidential ones. Yeah, we could bring those other ones out of confidence. And could I have a mover, please, for 5.1, please? Moved by Councillor Jolin, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Sorry. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Okay, right. Now the main body of the... Let's done all the minutes. 5.2, and I haven't acknowledged our acting CEO, Tina Jakes, this afternoon. Oops. Nice to see you, Tina, and thank you very much for filling the role. All right. 5.2, Receipt of the, still some more minutes, sorry. Receipt of Lake Taupo Protection Joint Committee on the 22nd of June.
Which have been tabled.
which have been
They've been
tabled.
tabled.
And
Apologies for the late notice of these minutes. It's just that we only met on Friday, and timing was of the essence, so that's why these minutes were so late to the table. Happy to
Okay.
answer any questions.
Any clarification of those minutes or any questions of Councillor Jollins, who was present at the meeting, and Councillor Williamson? Yeah. Are you happy to move those minutes, Councillor Jollins? Seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Is against, carried. Right, 5.3, extension of contract liquid waste sludge trucking. Kevin.
Can you say
Good
that
afternoon,
fast?
Kevin. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. Yes, just presenting this report as a request to extend the contract for another further 12 months at a cost of just under 229,000. That amount's been budgeted in the 18-19 financial year, LTP. And the Hydrocare are the incumbent at the moment. They've been there for 7 years doing this work for us, and have been doing a good job. So,
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Any questions of Kevin? Councillor Park?
It may be more so for Kevin Strongman. The contract's due to expire on the 30th of June, which is next week. I'm just wondering why we have it on this agenda and we haven't seen it a month or two earlier.
I probably should answer that because that's really my fault in the sense that it's just taken me a while to get it written and get it to the councillors. Just workload and one thing and another. So I appreciate it's late but I do have a verbal agreement with the incumbent that he will carry on if this wasn't to be passed today and we were asked to go out and re-tender it, so we wouldn't be left stuck.
How long, Kevin, has the current incumbent been doing this particular work?
7 years in total.
7 years,
It was
okay.
re-tendered about 4 years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and really the main reason why we're asking for this to be extended of a year at the moment, there's some new technology that's around. There's a couple of companies that are locally based that have purchased some extra equipment, and I just haven't had the chance to really assess that. So in 12 months' time, we will have been able to do that, and potentially it may change the way we write this contract. And hopefully with some further savings for the council.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. No other questions? Okay, the suggested recommendation there that Hydrocare be accepted. Could I have a move, please? Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks,
Thank you.
Kevin. 5.4, tender contract Lock Eagles Reservoir Design Vault.
Good afternoon,
Tom.
everyone.
Good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Yeah, so today's paper's about a new reservoir we're looking to build out in Kinloch. I'm after two decisions today. The first is for approval of unbudgeted expenditure of $771,000 for us to complete the project. And the second is to award the contract to Concrete Structures Limited for just over $1.9 million. Concrete Structures are a sort of well-known contractor in the space. They're using Holmes Consulting Group, who are their designer, also very well known in New Zealand, and Concrete Structures actually built our last reservoir out in Acacia Bay, so the Cherry Lane Reservoir. I take the paper as read, but I guess obviously we're asking for more money, so I thought I'd just bring a couple of points. I think it's on page 105 of your agenda, but under tender evaluation, there's, I guess, the reasons for the overspend against the budget. It was, as we went through the designation process in preparation of the tender about a month ago, we realised that there were some consent conditions on the site, and there was a few limitations on how the size and shape of the reservoir. So instead of building a sort of tall, narrow reservoir, which is a bit more economic. We've had to keep it a bit lower and widen it out. So that's increased the cost a little bit. We're also designing for appropriate seismic conditions to ensure that the reservoir is going to stay there for a long time, and we've got a pretty tight construction market. So one of our shortlisted tenders actually pulled out partway through in the second stage of our procurement. So yeah, look, I guess if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any questions of Tom?
Chairman?
Councillor Boddy?
Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be reading the wrong figures. In our long-term plan that we're finishing by the end of this month, there was 2.9 million for the security of supply at Kinloch. Are we talking a different reservoir?
No, that's the same project. So yeah, in the 2015 to 25 long-term plan, there was a project that actually had a total budget of 3.3 million. So there was 427
and then 2.9.
Yep. The security of supply project actually encompassed a number of other parts of work, some of which have been completed, including a new pipeline up to the old Boojum Dell reservoir, which is still there, some slip remediation work, and also sort of over, I think, the annual plan reviews in the end of 2016 and 2017, that budget was reduced. I guess the positive thing is that within that, the original 3.3 million, we're actually within that amount, the number now. But I guess this actual reservoir project, we obviously haven't delivered within that initial 3 years. We've come to deliver it now. We're asking for another 500k as part of the current long-term plan. So for next year, we've added 500k, and it's a little bit disappointing. I acknowledge that we haven't got that number right, but we are where we are.
Well, Mr. Chairman, help me out. There's 2.9 allowed in this year's budget, and yet we're looking at another 700,000 round figures unbudgeted money. How does that work?
Sorry, the revised budget at the start of 17-18 was $1 million. So we actually only currently have $1.9 million on that project, and we've spent 480.
This is where I get amused at council's financing.
Okay, any other questions of Tom? Councillor Park?
Yeah, so sorry, thank you, I might have missed it. But so the unbudgeted 771 is across for this financial year and next. Is that correct? Is it split over the two?
We'll be building next year, so 18-19.
So the capital works project for Kinloch Water, there's not enough monies in that. I mean, because this is the first of like a big few projects out there, so why are you asking for unbudgeted money for the next financial year now?
So through the chair, that is correct. We are asking for extra money in that space. What we have done is we've allocated we questioned the actual amount that came through for the building of the reservoir. It is something we don't build very often. As Tom said, the last one that we built by these contractors was at Acacia Bay, which was quite a while ago. So it's something we don't have in our back pocket of how much these cost. To be fair to the staff, they actually went out to one of the three really good builders of reservoirs and got a price to put that price in, and that was wrong when they got into the detail. So I think, to be fair to staff, they actually did do due diligence. We could be a little bit better in that space, but we certainly haven't got enough money to take it away from another project.
Councillor Williamson. Councillor Williamson.
Through the chair. Thank you, Tom. With the, obviously with current tight construction market, obviously that means everybody's busy. So one of the shortlisted companies pulled out for that reason, did not submit. So he had seven applications. He only invited three. Was obviously there are good reasons why he didn't invite another company to provide a tender, or?
Yeah, it's in a design build tender. You're actually asking your tenderers to actually invest in the process. So the shortlisted companies that get through actually have to produce a design. So they actually have to spend money to get there. So if you'd retained 7 at the front, you'd probably lose 5 of them off the bat. So I mean, one could say we should have only taken 2 forward, maybe, but then if one pulls out, you're left with 1. So it's always a bit of a balancing act in a design build process. I think at the end of the day, we got 2 prices, and they were both pretty competitive. So.
Just sort of through the chair, just to add to that, we're going out and asking for 3 originally, so they got a third chance of winning it. These guys are investing in things that others didn't quite, so we don't want to go to the market and that's time set no one.
Councillor Hickling?
Yes, Your Worship, I'm prepared to move this. This is a major infrastructure of our water supply for Kinloch, and I think we've just got to get on and do it.
Okay,
so
thank you,
I'm prepared to move
Councillor.
the suggested resolution, Your Worship.
Okay, any other queries? Or
Yeah, I just
questions?
had a couple of quick queries, Tom. Or this might be a question for Mr. Strongman. How much of the increase in costs relate to the fact that the consent conditions put limitations on what we were going to do, roughly? Because this is a significant difference, cost variation. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, probably difficult to answer the exact amount, but I guess
Is it significant?
Yeah, I think it was significant.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask then, because we know it's always a bitter pill to swallow when we get these increases in costs, and Councillor Hickling is right, we need to get on and do this, but can we just make sure in our processes, because we knew that there were resource consent conditions on that site, can we find some way of getting that into the process earlier so that we could have thought more about that? And the last question is probably one for Mr. Menhennan. I note in the paper that about 24% of this is coming from DCs. Aren't we able to exercise it up to 33%? Or have I got that wrong?
We looked at what the growth element was that was built into the reservoir, because a lot of it's to meet existing demand, and this is the figure it came out at, that we can justify funding out of the financial contributions and development contributions.
So just to follow up, is this likely to have an impact on targeted rates the following year?
No.
Just a further comment. I think I know that some of the escalation in the price is the actual design, because it's right, we all know Loch Eagles, it's right on the top. The design needs to be low in profile, whereas probably the cheaper option is to have a tall something that sticks out. So we don't want that in Kinloch. So I think that's where some of the price escalations are showing in this particular project, Your Worship.
So,
Okay.
sorry, through the chair, just to add, to respond to Councillor Johns, it is something that we're working on, is looking at the consents and bringing them and looking at them a lot earlier, and we're doing that consistently for all of our projects moving forward. So.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Body.
But just to also make the point, I'd like to know on the 30th of June how much unbudgeted expenditure we've done in the last 12 months. Because every meeting, it's unbudgeted expenses. And somewhere we're going to have to rein it in. And I accept what the staff say, we can do things better, but it is concerning.
All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Right, cleaning, 5.5, contract for interior cleaning for the various council facilities. Gareth.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Councillors. Our current cleaning contract is coming to an end, so Council went out to tender for a new cleaning contract. We had quite a good response. We had 4 very good tenderers come back in. The prices ranged from 697,000 to 1.1 million. We did recommend the lowest price, but honestly it wasn't because of the price, it was because they were a really exceptional contractor. So I'll put it to you guys to take a vote on whether we can award the tender to Total Industrial Solutions. I'll take the rest of the paper as read and I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions of Gareth regarding the cleaners?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Body?
On the first page it talks the current contractor does not wish to further extend the contract period since the contract did not contain a clause for contract price adjustments. Can you explain exactly what that means? If it had that clause in it, would they have retendered?
Yes, so basically who wrote the contract the first time round never put in any CPI price index raises, and also didn't cater for if government put up the minimum wage. So they were on a fixed price term and they couldn't move on that one.
Great. All right, the suggested recommendation.
Through the chair, obviously, thanks, Gareth. It's obviously too many buildings that to number here, but you mentioned on page with the cleaning within the high standards for the majority of council facilities. Obviously, you mean all council facilities.
So there's 34 buildings that are listed. Yeah, I didn't want to write out 34 buildings to list, but
what about bus stops?
Sorry,
bus stops? No, okay. All right. Thank you, Gareth. There's a suggested recommendation there that we accept Total Industrial Supplies, moved by Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Jollins. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. 5.6 Suzhou exhibition expenditure. 5.6 we have Dylan and Louisa.
Everyone, councillors, staff. Today the item in front of you is a request to approve unbudgeted expenditure for the Suzhou exhibition to the value of $93,678. Now this figure is made up of three components. The biggest share falls to the security arrangements that we need to put in place for the exhibition, for the installation of alarms into each of the individual display cases, and for the additional insurance cover. I apologise for the lateness of this item. We have been going through the negotiation for the loan agreement since March, and we have only just completed negotiations, and these were key aspects from that negotiation. I take the report as read. Are there any questions?
Sure there will be. Councillor Body.
Unbudgeted, I love that word. Back in March we agreed to spend I think 60 or 70,000 on an archway as part of the 10th anniversary, and suddenly we hear about we're going to have this showcase of arts and whatever you like to call it. Then suddenly, bang on, 93,000 of security. Why didn't this come through a few months ago? We may have made a decision not to accept their exhibition. Is there any reasons why that has been so late?
Yes, just because of the negotiation with the loan agreement. We received it in March and have been working on it ever since until May.
Councillor Heckling?
What's the value of the artefacts coming from China?
4.5 million.
So that's the reason, obviously.
Yes. Some of the artefacts are of national significance. And we also had to await the site visit from the Suzhou staff with the head of security. That was a key element in the decision making.
It's fair to say this exhibition's been mooted for quite some time, isn't it? Really?
Yes. Yeah. However, we were not aware of the actual exhibition until December, and then the negotiations started after that.
Councillor Williamson?
Yes, really. Yeah, thanks, Louisa. Obviously, just picked up the point I was going to make. Obviously, there's been negotiating since March, but so there's only been just a recent inspection by Suzhou
May 23rd, I think they were here, 21st to 25th.
So I presume they, in their opinion, well, obviously with security around the museum, the one reason it wasn't adequate, so they
yes.
requesting a
we met with the police and security and the head of security of Suzhou and staff, and these were the items that were negotiated. They actually did initially propose that we have 2 24-hour guards,
so
which we were able to negotiate to 1.
So this is here in August, isn't it? August?
May.
May.
In August, yes.
But I understand, obviously, with the Suzhou, with the actual the visit is tied up with our winter festival.
Yes,
well,
they're all linked. Yep.
So
in celebration of the 10-year sister city relationship.
2 questions, Lewis. Is any possibility of charging admission?
So in our fees and charges, we can charge for touring exhibitions. However, given the nature of our relationship with Suzhou, we probably wouldn't want to propose a charge for entry into the exhibition. However, we're retaining our normal fees and charges for visitors, and we are expecting to estimating to get between 1,500 and 2,000 additional visitors each month for this exhibition. We also will have a koha donation box and we are working on sponsorship proposals as we speak.
Yeah, so
that's still working alongside
okay,
it.
so potential sponsorship could come to offset some of this expenditure?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps if we're of the mind to approve this today, I would like that sponsorship subject to any sponsorship monies being received to go into the pot. Yeah, Councillor, Mr. Taia, sorry. Just, I think Dylan's been trying to say something for a little while.
I was just going to say, councillors, that certainly it's not, picking up on Councillor Boddy's point, don't want to add to that number that you want by the 30th of June. At the end of the day, they've identified in person that there are issues with our facility, and as a result, they have asked for certain measures. The difficulty we've had is lost in translation. Literally being able to, and that's why we've identified insurance, of being able to protect this council's interests, because we don't understand fully the implications of Chinese law versus New Zealand law. So at the end of the day, we believe it's the best opportunity. We will continue. We have live requests for sponsorship, but we do need to sign something that allows that exhibition to come next month. Oh, sorry, August.
Okay, just looking at, sorry, before Councillor John, I'm just looking at the insurance invoice here. Is that through our normal insurance suppliers?
Yep.
Just looking at Mr. Fox, that's all. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Councillor Jollins.
Just a quick question to me. Are there any other costs that we had budgeted for that are in relation to this exhibition? Like this 93 is new on top of what we would have budgeted, because we would have known we had some security requirements. So what else are we spending on top of that 93, please?
We are spending a significant amount of money on the exhibition anyway.
Yeah.
Just one moment.
Thank you, Louisa.
Obviously, we've got promotional marketing costs, and we've got so we have done a lot of negotiation with this exhibition in that to house the 85 artefacts, we've had to borrow 16 display cases from other museums. So we've got some freight costs in there. We're planning events and activities alongside that, but we've managed to negotiate those to happen in kind or be chargeable activities. We've got hosting costs for our installations for the staff, for the installation, Suzhou staff. They have agreed to pay for one set of hosting costs, and we will pay the other. Remembering that everything that we pay for in terms of Suzhou is reciprocated when we return our exhibition in 2020. We have a few material and equipment costs, and we have obviously signage and normal exhibition display costs that we are absorbing within our exhibitions and displays budgets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's your drive for sponsorship going without
Yep. We've had a couple of declines already, but we got our first individual sponsor this morning, so that was quite cool. And we've got at least half a dozen pending in progress, and yeah, so we've got quite a number of feelers out there. I think we're up to about 20 potential partners, as in corporate sponsors, and we're putting our feelers out to the wider friends of the museum as individual supporters, and our art connection database as well. So yes, we're working on that.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Park.
Yeah, it is unbudgeted, but I'm going to be voting in favour of this. I sort of see this, the economic impact to the district in a way that someone might use the eyesight. You go to see something, but then you're going to be eating and drinking, and you may stay overnight and make a weekend of it or whatever. And if you're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 extra visitors a month, then I think it's a worthwhile project. I think it's also really exciting that we have this sort of exhibition of this nature as well. It's something I'll certainly be tiptoeing around when it arrives. I also think it's also a great example of why we're doing a cultural precinct master plan and looking at, if we had a proper facility in the first place, then we wouldn't even be here discussing it. I'll happily move it, actually, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Park.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll just support Councillor Park's comments. So obviously, with the having me on the Friends of Museum committee, as Councillor Jollins has will back me up, it's very important to the local community outside the scope, even Sujo, with supporting the museum and what it does to the economy and for the local communities within the art and culture and the wider community. So I'll definitely support it as well, notwithstanding the extra cost involved.
You happy to second, Councillor? Yep.
I'd just like to add that we've been working with the Ministry for Culture and Heritage and Te Papa, and they're very excited, and we see it as a really amazing opportunity to showcase Taupo, and what we're doing is future proofing for the future. Yeah.
Cool. Is it? I just ask the mover, would it be possible, just with a slight amendment, just to mention the word sponsorship in there? If any sponsorship is received, it's a portion to this particular cost.
Where do we do?
What's the easiest?
Council approves unbudgeted expenditure up to, and then that's the limit, and then any sponsorship you can put against that.
And you can note that in the minutes.
I don't want it to get lost.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's a real shame that a month away, basically, we've got July, then it's August, that all this isn't in place. Yeah, we're assuming things that may not even happen. So I'm not in favour of the resolution. I'll be voting against.
Yeah, I think Lewis has explained quite adequately. It was a recent visit by the delegation that has put these requests on, and I think that's why we're here today, unfortunately.
For big events like this, we should be doing a critical path around sponsorship and planning and marketing, and maybe signalling last year we knew this was coming, maybe work together with the team to help support them to drive that sponsorship, because it's a hard yard a month out to be doing everything and doing this on top of it. So in terms of lessons learnt, in terms of planning for these things, maybe that's a part of the discussion that we need to think about a bit sooner, because a lot of the corporates in particular, they plan 12 monthly, so you need to be in there having a discussion with them sooner.
Have you got any budget available left? No. All right, moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Okay, Councillor Body, is there anyone against? Okay.
Thank you.
Could I have that recorded, please? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dillon. 5.7, Grants and Partnership Policy Amendment. Hadley.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this item followed on from a workshop earlier this month and some feedback that Council has received both through the long-term plan and outside of that process around the independent distributors through the Grants and Partnerships Policy being able to distribute funds for wages and salaries on an ongoing basis, and also day-to-day vehicle running costs. So when that policy was created, there was a clause within it that allowed Council to amend the criteria by resolution. and so that's exactly what this item is able to do.
Okay, any questions of Hadley?
Yes,
Sure.
a question
Yeah.
from me, Your Worship. Hadley, should this resolution be passed, we're in the process at the moment of calling for partnership agreements and distribution agencies based on our current criteria. So are we going to go out and let people know that the criteria have amended? Because some people will have already applied and they may not have applied for certain things.
Through you, Your Worship, just noting we actually have flagged that on our website and also spoken to the existing independent distributors to make them aware that this conversation was to be had today, and also we flagged with yourselves in an email looking for guidance from you as to whether or not that process should happen. So they're completely up to date on your potential decision.
Sure. I was thinking more, because I know that the current independent distributors are quite close to this, but those that aren't familiar with the process, who might be putting in a new partnership agreement, will not be. So we just need to make sure that they're all well informed, and they may have already submitted an application. So we just need to make sure that the communication is really clear.
Luckily, we're online forms, which means they can only go through the web portal, so they've seen that red note flag at the front of their application process, so we're covered.
Through the chair.
Sorry, just one last one. As a matter of interest, have we had many applications in yet, Hadley? Dylan?
Yeah, no, we do.
We do.
Through the chair.
We're going to be very busy reading after the closing date of 6 July.
Councillor Williamson?
Just following up Councillor Dolan's point around about, obviously Dylan's mentioned that the independent distributors have been flagged about the changes or the policy. With the previous people with service agreements now to be called partnership agreements. So I've been to 2 or 3 meetings, and people, because they've submitted through a long-term plan, they think that's their application. So will we be flagging to the existing ones, or is it an open door?
So letters have been sent by email to all of those, and certainly I've received those that you've referred on to us. So they've been contacted to let them know that the round is open, and that service level agreements are being replaced by partnership agreements, and that their applications are on.
Has been in the paper several times, Sue.
The advertisement
Yeah.
has been running through,
Yeah.
and as well as that, there is a feature that is actually quoting Councillor Dolan coming out. This week, so drawing on more further attention, the quote's yet to be at a conversation, but it's a different type of meeting as opposed to a public notice.
There's public notice at the moment, though, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Okay. Amendment. Yeah. Thank you very much. So have a mover, please. Councillor Harvey. Yeah, nice to see you back.
I wanted to make sure, so everyone's very clear on this now. We don't want any more stuff. We want to get it right.
Yeah. Moved by Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Right, adoption of waste management and minimise. 5.8. I was just that keen to get to you, Brent. I couldn't believe it. Health and safety report. Sorry, Mr. Fox.
Thank you very much.
Any questions, Mr. Fox? Councillor Park?
Just one, Mr. Fox, is I just noted, and I mean, maybe it's because there were no actual incidences, but the Turangi security fence with the kids on the service centre roof doesn't appear. Is that because no one actually hurt themselves, or I'm just trying to place where that might sit.
So just
Okay.
a quick
Councillor
question from
Jollins?
me to Mr Fox. I note that we've had no lost time injuries at all this financial year, which is excellent. Do you know how that relates in terms of tracking from the year before? No. Okay, I mean that's quite a good result.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. As a suggested recommendation there, could I have a mover for the health and safety report, please? Moved by Councillor Jolland, seconded by Councillor Boddy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Okay, 5.9, Waste Management and Minimisation Plan, 2018. Brent. Good afternoon, Brent.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good afternoon, councillors. This waste minimisation plan has come to you for final rubber stamping. Last time we were discussing it, we made no amendments, so it's ready to go. Feedback from the community out there is very positive. And I'd like to thank the council laws and you, Your Worship, for support through the process. I think we've got a good outcome for everyone. Now time to implement.
Good, thank you, Brent. Any questions of Brent? No, straightforward. Yep,
thank you.
All right, been moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
5.10, adoption of final asset management plans. Dennis. Good afternoon, Dennis. Okay, thanks, Dennis. Any questions of Dennis?
Question, Dennis. It's on page 156. It's just the terminology in yellow. I think that's been very badly worded. During the deliberation process, the long-term plan council allocated a budget of 2,000 whatever has to develop a transport strategy, however, is not included. Letter it should be put in. And I did have some difficulty, Mr. Chairman, in regards of some of the numbers of properties. We've gone through this one before, particularly at Atamuri, and the number of water supplies. We've got 20 water consents, but 19 supplies. Where's the 20th? Well, it happened. I mean, it's there every year. 20 resource consents, but there's 19 supplies. So. I promise next time I'll approach you first.
The consent might have been acted upon. You never know. All right, there we go. It's a curly one for you, Dennis, so I'm sure you'll come back to us on that.
Oh, just one last question.
Councillor Jollins.
Sorry. One last question. Some of the key plans were sent to Audit New Zealand. There weren't any material issues raised through that you need to let us know about?
No, there wasn't.
Thank you.
Okay, could I have a mover, please? This is a recommendation. Move by Councillor Ring, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Right, Development Contributions Policy Adoption. Adley. 5.11. 207 on the... Good afternoon, Hadley.
Afternoon, everyone again. So the next 6 items are mine, and they relate to the conclusion of the long-term plan process.
Yep.
These next 4 adoptions of policies that obviously are interrelated with the long-term plan. and have been through the process of the LTP for the last 18 months with you. So this is just the final conclusion to formally adopt all of those policies, starting with the DC policy.
Okay, any questions on the DC policy? Councillor Body?
Just a quick one. When we were doing the asset management plan some months ago, there were two different figures given for a bridge. So my question is the 12 million mentioned in this document the inflation adjusted figure? Because I think Mr. Lewis' response was that the second figure included the inflation proofing. So I just want clarity on that.
Are you going back to the asset management plan? Yeah. Are you, what item are you on? DCs? Development contributions?
Yeah, development contributions. It's page 220 of the agenda. It's just that I think the two figures were given to me were 12 and 20 or 12 and 16. One was non-inflation adjusted and one was. I need to know what the 12 million is. Or are all those figures in there inflation adjusted if it's going to take place 3 or 4 years down the track?
Did you hear that, Dennis? Or Neil?
One without inflation on it, so 12 million if that was the number that's in there. So all the financials in the long-term plan are inflated. The base inflation, the base financials and the AMPs don't have inflation on. So that's why you're seeing the difference there.
So effectively, the quicker we get this bridge built, the better, because of the inflationary effect.
Yeah, no, don't. The numbers in annual plans and long-term plans get updated based on the assumptions at the time every year. So a number that you put in a plan in year 1 will invariably not be the same number in year 10 when you eventually get to year 10.
Just through the chair, sorry, to be pedantic. In the last column on that page, in the title, I think capital needs a P.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Just
okay.
one last question from me, because I know Hadley's a guru on this stuff. I guess the major change we made to the DCs was the funding of the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get much comment back in terms of feedback, did we, from submissions?
Not on that point, no. No.
I mean, other matters got brought up, but that particular matter, it was silent, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, the recommendation there that we adopt the DC policy. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Jollins. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Right, at 5.12, adoption of rates, remissions and postponement policies. Hadley?
Sorry, yeah, nothing further to add. Similar again.
Any questions of that one? Yeah. Okay. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Jollins, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Treasury management policy.
Same again.
Same again. Okay. Could I have a mover, please, for that one? Moved by Councillor Parks, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Revenue and Financing Policy 2018 Considerations Report.
That's the same as well.
Same thing. Okay, yep. Could I have a mover, please, for that one too? Moved by Councillor Truman, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Right, adoption of the long-term plan. This is it.
It is it. So I've just got a couple of changes too to the version that was sent out to you yesterday. So we'll just circulate those. We've also got Clarence Susan and Nodia Kutza from Audit New Zealand here to speak to their report as well.
Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Would you like to come forward? Right, well, Hadley's delivering that. Parents and notice, nice to see you guys.
Good afternoon.
How was the audit?
Always good.
Always good. Okay, floor is yours if you want to.
Thank you, Your Worship and Councillors. Thank you for having us here. And yes, the audit actually went very well.
So I'm pleased to be here today to present my unmodified audit opinion once it's adopted, once you've decided to adopt the long-term plan. In my opinion, I believe that the long-term plan forms a reasonable basis for long-term integrated decision-making and coordination of council's resources, and it's a good basis for accountability of the council to the community. Also, the information and assumptions underlying the forecast information in the plan are reasonable, so I'm not saying it's correct, I'm saying it's reasonable, and that the disclosures on pages 20 to 25 is complete in connection with the financial reporting and prudence regulations. So with the CD, we said that the CD was a good document to go out and consult with. It gave different options and the impact of those options. Since then, you've consulted, you listened to the community, and you made some changes to the underlying information. We checked all those changes from the CD to the long-term plan, and we followed that through into the underlying information. So the question is, do we think that the plan clearly explains what it means to the community? And my answer is yes, we think it does. When you look at your long-term plan, it provides an adequate disclosure in relation to your expenditure over the 10-year period, and that also includes how council proposed to fund those expenditure. There's also adequate linkages between your financial strategy and your infrastructure strategy. We also looked at the capex, how that's spent, and we found that there's a good mix in this long-term plan. So on your capex, you have capex that's proposed as renewals, increases in levels of service, as well as to make room for some growth. And then also you have enough capex and opex in there to maintain existing assets. So overall, we also looked at your performance measures that you have in your long-term plan. That is to actually report back on your actual performance to the community. We looked at your performance measures, and we found that that's a reasonable basis to report against. So a successful consultation and LTP process is heavily reliant on an effective planning of the whole project. So the project starts way before we arrive on site, and it finishes, well, hopefully today. But the development is a significant and complex project, and a comprehensive plan is required. And I think having support of management and the involvement of elected members is a critical part of getting it all together. And I can say for Taupo, I think you had it worked out really well. So I just want to thank Hadley and Neil and Alan and the rest of the team for the help and assistance that we received during the audit. And yes, the audit went really well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Clarence. Thank you. Any questions for Clarence? Ladies, today? No? Very detailed. Well done, Clarence. Thank you very much. You're allowed to depart.
Thank you.
All right, Hadley. So this is the adoption.
It is. So I'll just explain what I've handed out to you.
Okay,
so the first one is just in yellow, the amendment to the Mayors and Councillors message. That is slightly different from the version that you received yesterday. And the second one is an updated funding impact statement for transport. It was noted after having a look at it again today that we actually had the water funding impact statement replicated into transport. So we've actually just updated that today, and that is in the final version, but you've just got that hard copy in front of you so that you know that that's where the change has been made. Other than that, it's good to go.
All right. Okay.
This is just a minor thing, but on after the message from Mayor and Councillors, just with where the photos are,
yes,
I think that maybe Rosie and Roseanne should be swapped, because I think the Deputy Mayor should sit.
Yeah, so that order is simply just the way you're sitting right now, but I suppose secondary to the adoption today is the final designed version. So we have a month under the Local Government Act to produce that. So this is the adoption of the long-term plan, but we'll now go away and get it designed up, and photos is part of getting that,
yeah, I'm
that
not
sorted.
worried about mine, but I just think that the Deputy Mayor should be...
Certainly, yeah, and we'll note that for the final version. Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Headley. Just obviously this is the stage to ask questions. Other questions on page 329 under the goals that would be identified, point 19. I just wanted to avoid any ambiguity. It says maintain the capital of the TL Community Fund to be available as part of Disaster Recovery Fund. Should that just be TL Fund? Isn't the Community Fund designed to go towards community projects? So what's the wording?
I'd have to check with Neil on the exact wording of that one. I haven't.
So the intent of that line there is so the TL fund absolutely is we're building up that community fund, which we're still going to set the rules on yet. But one of the benefits of still having that fund is that it's available as a disaster recovery fund, and that's in the financial strategy as well. Oh, that is actually the comment there, right? Yeah. So that is still part of our disaster recovery fund should a big event occur, and that gives us the benefits around the insurance side of it and access to the government funding as well. So that's
okay. Thanks, Elias. I'm happy with that. And just on page 367, just being a bit picky, I may be misinterpreting it with the I've got the projects over the key projects. You've got 3 boxes there, 2019-20 and 2019-20 replicated. Or you did it twice. Was that meant to be like that? On page 367.
Yeah, whereabouts? I haven't actually got that in front of me, but whereabouts on the? Is it under one of the groups of activities?
Oh, you would be. Yeah, sorry, I'll probably get ahead of myself. It's on page 367. Key projects for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's after the transport.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I see what
I see. Yes. Yep. That
will need to be amended. 2021, perhaps. I don't know.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, that is. What's that?
What's in the document's correct?
Oh, sorry, that we will have to amend that. Yep.
It's a repeat.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. So I'm happy to make this recommendation. In doing so, amended report, amended long-term plan, as amended. In doing so, I just want to thank everyone that's been involved, the staff, huge hours, and you've done this. You become a parent in this time too, Hadley. Right through this process, so the demand on you has been great, and also to all of the staff, thank you so much for putting it all together. And thank you, councillors, what they do with the submissions. I think it's been a good process. I might have got this dog slightly wrong, but I think we can sort that out. But it's a large business, a large complex business, and to get one line item that is not quite right, I think we've done pretty well. So thank you very much, everyone, and happy to move. And
Chairman, just a query.
Yes.
Chairman, just want to bring something up. 3 years ago, when we did our last long-term plan, we were predicting by 2025 that our debt would be 103 million, and our investments would go from 84 to 143 million. The figures that I've read through here is that we may still be knocking around 149 by that 2025. Am I correct or not? Because I thought what we did 3 years ago was give a direction to the populace that we were going to make a real go of reducing the debt, and it appears as though we haven't really followed that through. So just like clarification.
Through the chair, the world moves on. If you look at what we've built into this long-term plan, we have accelerated the water scheme improvements to meet the drinking water standards. We have budgeted an arbitrary 15.7 million for a council building. There is a number of things that have changed since the last long-term plan.
Could I then thank Alan for that explanation? And I'm just wondering, when I read the opening statements in the document that we're about to approve, that it doesn't really link back to what we actually set down, not so much in concrete, 3 years ago. Can we incorporate some way to explain to the people the reason some of those decisions have been made or not made?
Basically, this is where we are today. What we're talking about is what differences will occur going forward. Our starting point for today is a 144 million gross debt, and this is the particular program going forward. So I think it confuses, in my opinion, it confuses the public if we try and compare this long-term plan with the last long-term plan and explain every movement that's occurred.
I think through the chair, I think probably in support of Mr. Van Heer, it's my view as well. Obviously, it's a moving beast, and obviously I think more people are more interested. So I certainly am, that our net debt is only what, $39 million, and it is actually less than it was 3 years ago, the projection.
Just through the chair, I'd back what Councillor Williamson just said, and also, I mean, the cost of materials is far more expensive now than it was 3 years ago as well. So, although it be unfortunate, I mean, I think this is probably the most sort of exciting LTP I've been involved in, and this is number 3. So, yeah, I support those comments.
Councillor Truman.
Sorry, in our previous LTP, we'd sort of, I just thought this seems vague, like we're sort of not saying that we're looking into like district-wide water, rating for water. Like, is there a reason why we'd, I can see that, but it just doesn't seem as, it seems a bit more vague than what we did last LTP, if that's still the ongoing plan.
It is vague, and it is vague on purpose, because we are looking at going out with the water funding discussion as part of the LTP amendment. We don't know what that looks like yet, we just wanted, I took your point on board, and we're floating the fact that we are going to have some discussions, but we don't really want to get into the detail until we know what those discussions are going to be.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I've moved it. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Hadley. Right. 5.16, adoption of responses to the submission.
Yeah, I'm still here. So what we've done with the responses here is given you the main responses. So rather than providing another 300 plus pages for you to go through for each and every letter, what we've tried to focus on is the submissions that we received the most number of submissions on. So you'll note on the left-hand side we've gone through the different activity areas and the main points under each of those activity areas, similar to how we had them set up for the deliberations. And then the relevant response on the right-hand side. Now, those responses are made up of staff input, the decisions that were made through deliberations, and also you noted some amendments to some of those responses during the deliberations as well, which we've tried to take into account there too. So, really, it's just getting your approval that you're happy with those as the responses, and over the next week or two, we'll finalise those. I suppose secondary to that, in terms of TTCB, MPRG, and KRG. I've gone to each of those groups and committees and spoken to them directly already around the responses to their specific submissions. So that's been done over the last few weeks. They will get a formal response post this process, but we have already spoken to them about each of their individual points. I can't, I'm afraid.
Okay, thanks, Hadley. All right, so is everyone happy with those responses? So just to clarify, everyone that's submitted to us has had some sort of response?
So everyone that's submitted has had an acknowledgement of their submission, but obviously we couldn't formally respond until Council adopted the LTP today. Okay, cool. So the intention now is that each person that submitted will receive a formal response, and this is essentially covers the bulk of the submissions that we received. There are some other individual ones, so if you're interested in seeing them all, we can certainly circulate them to you, but we just try to avoid the huge numbers of paper again.
We'll get back to you about that. All right.
Just through the chair, one thing we'll do once the submission responses have been sent out to those who submitted, we will be running a 4-page piece in the paper highlighting what decisions we've made and also the changes to the plan, such as you know, local children under 5s and those things.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks, Lisa. All right, can I have a mover, please, for the adoption of the responses, please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. 5.17, rates resolution 2018 to 19. Neil and Tony.
It's all good up here.
Okay, so this is now that you've adopted your long-term plan, you need to adopt the rates resolution to enable us to collect money off people. So the rates resolution just sets out all the technical stuff around the rates in terms of the general rates, the UAGC, and all the targeted rates, and how that's going to be collected, and obviously aligns with your funding impact statement and your long-term plan. So.
And also outlines the penalties and when we'll charge them and how much, 10%. Yeah, the dates and.
Yeah. Okay, any questions of Tony there? Here I say, probably not the right time to mention it, but this B&B situation with rates. When are we going to discuss that? Or what was the
You were quite right, probably not the time to mention it.
No. Okay.
We were going to wait and see what happened with the main centres first, and then we were going to we were going to follow on and see.
Okay.
Through the chair, just a point of interest. Just a point of interest, not actually directly related to this resolution, but I see in the local government New Zealand actually, the government have approved the retirement villages for a rate remission.
Yes.
For the,
yes.
If they meet the criteria.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, John. All right. No other questions?
Just quickly, Mr. Chairman. Oh, sorry. I did a bit of research. I asked Mr. Manhattan about what would happen if someone paid all their rates up front. One council does offer 3% off their rate if they pay everything on the one date. Well, the smaller ones, thing in the middle of the North Island.
That's us.
Not small.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Lovely. To see you. And another queries or questions of discuss, Councillor Park?
No, I'll have to do it. This is probably the resolution of the training that
moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. And there we go.
Just in saying that, when I attended a elected members forum in Wellington, and all people were going to introduce themselves, and at the end it was 9 were they expect that and Taupo came out at 3.44 was the cheapest rate. It was Taupo I was going to take, so okay.
Cool. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Right, Tina, Council's May performance report.
Thank you, Worship. I haven't really got anything much to add to the report. Just noting that a couple of projects have been completed with the Kinloch Esplanade Reserve and the footpath along Lake Terrace near Rainbow Point, and there'll be some official ceremonies with the openings of those this week, so it's good to get those ones completed. And if there's no questions on any of the first part of the agenda, I can hand over to Alan to carry us through the other parts.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Through the chair, we're only about 4 days away from the end of the financial year, and it's been a challenging one with building relocations, with unbudgeted expenditure, as Councillor Body referred to, and numerous other pieces. So it's pleasing that we're still forecasting a surplus for the year of $10 million, and we originally budgeted $5 million. So I think Your Worship, councillors and staff in general should be congratulated for achieving what they've achieved. When you look at the revenue side, incredible increase in activity right across the board, which has put significant pressures on everybody, but it has been delivered. There is very few areas in this report that haven't delivered. So just an observation that after all we've been through, we're still in a pretty good shape. The individual comments are no different to what I've said in the previous months as far as investment performance, as far as fees and charges and management of expenses. All I can say is that next year will be even more challenging. I know this isn't the year end, but we're so close to it at the end of May with our forecast for the end of June that and we will not be presenting financials again probably until September or maybe August at the earliest. So hence I just wanted to make reference to the performance of everybody.
Thank you very much, Alan. Appreciate that. Any questions of Alan?
Yep, well done, Alan. On page 372, just two things. We're still showing the total debt at 146, and you just told us it's going to be 144. That will change.
We have forecast for the year debt at 144, and that's what it will end up as, gross debt 144.
Also on that page, we've got a cross where last month it was a green tick in regards to counterparty credit exposure.
Yes, we did a forward swap transaction in May that pushed it over. The limit was 20 million, it pushed it to 20.23 million, but by the end of June, because it was a forward swap, it will be back under, at year end, it will be fully compliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Any other questions about it? Councillor Park.
Yeah, just on careful turn on, I suppose it's just a rounding thing, but often 27 was nice to get out the four categories that
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean as far as the, yeah, just around 77.9, and it says 77,898. So that's just rounded up to 77.9.
12 grand.
If you look at the
Okay, thank you, Alan, and appreciate all that good work there. Who have we got next? Tina? Sorry.
So democracy and planning, really no changes from previous month in terms of costs. They're all pretty much in line with the budget, and the projects I don't think have changed much from last month either. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Democracy and planning, any questions of Tina? No? What's next?
Community services.
Community services.
Fox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually wasn't here for this month, so I really should hand over to Mr. McCaddy and Mr. Dale, but I'll save that for the time being. Really, Alan's already talked about levels of activity that's continuing in the regulatory area. We're trying to give some support in that space with contract workers to get us through some of those peaks. So really just business as usual, and it's a heavy, busy workload. And I don't know whether Nigel, you want to add anything to that since you're in the chair? Yeah, there you go.
Of course. I didn't realise you'd been awake. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian. Any questions of Brian? No. Thank you very much. Right. Next one is community facilities.
So
Yep.
no big change. Obviously, the sliver's got a little bit more orange
Yeah, so through the chair, as Dylan's mentioned, Ultima Hiki, there'll be an invite out the week of the 27th of August for the official opening of that. And the other stuff is Kinloch East. We know that's finished, so that's what's been happening in the community facilities. I'll take the rest as read in that space. If there are any questions, happy to answer them, or I'll move on to the next one.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Any questions, Kevin? Oh, you haven't finished? Sorry.
No, sorry. The next one is the water activity. Obviously, there's a fair bit of work happening at Waitahanui, and then obviously we just passed the Kinloch Reservoir. They're the two biggest pieces of work to be completed in that activity, budget-wise. Everything else is keeping on track and as we forecast in the last month. So,
the Waitahanui project going well?
Through Chair, yes, it's going to be completed around October. So yeah, about 95% of the pipe laid. There's a lot of commissioning and testing to be done in the next while.
Right. Good.
Okay, and the transportation one. Really, the largest there is the street lights, and we've had an issue with getting the actual street lights across from China, along with a lot of other councils as well. So that's held that up. You'll see that's the biggest part of the budget that we've underspent on. The renewals, we've just completed a whole lot of work at Hātepe, Taharua, upstate OI5, Parangataki. Poepi Road ceiling was sealed on Friday. So we're moving through a lot of those renewal work and getting ready for next year. And then the other pieces of CapEx works that we've done is the Pukawa Road slip is completed, and Wiley Terrace retaining wall is about halfway built. So moving through those projects in the transportation area.
I see on your Waikato Street bus bay was only cost half the budgeted. 32,000 as opposed to 75 budgeted. And it's completed. Half a bus stop.
I can assure you it's not half a bus stop. Yeah, so it's come in as.
You negotiated a very good deal, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it. In the wastewater space, you'll see we have a lot of contracts let, and in particular, Whakamotu treatment plant upgrade is construction's completion at the end of July. Pukawa upgrade has been let to Downers. That'll be expected to be completed within the next month. Kinloch upgrade, so that's the stormwater and access improvements. Again, that's underway at the moment, and the effluent tank design has been submitted, but we haven't approved it yet. There's a design and build. We just need to, once approval, it'll be built in probably 2 or 3 month period after that. So pretty much, as Alan said, we're just ticking along, finishing everything off. And the last couple are usually solid waste, nothing to report there. Our volumes are still over what we wanted them to be, but we're a little bit less than what we had last year. And stormwater is probably the only thing to note there is at the bottom end of Rupo Street. On Lake Terrace, you'll see that stormwater improvement device is going in as of yesterday. That's set up there with the cones and the pedestrian access. We're there for the next three and a bit weeks until that's completed.
Lovely. Thanks, Kip.
The final one is economic development. I've nothing really to add. Nothing's changed from last meeting. What I would say is we're going to set up a bit of a workshop, just giving an overview of all the where the projects are at, particularly the strengthening strategy which was adopted at the last meeting. So that'll give everyone a full flavour of what's going on.
Great. All right. Thank you. All right. No other questions or queries of Mrs. Jakes? No? Okay. Can I have a mover, please? Move by Councillor John, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 5.19, council engagements. July. Tina.
So a couple of changes and a few additions on here. So the Fred meeting on the 3rd, it's a 10:30 start, and we've got a site visit from 9:45. We've also got an additional workshop on Monday the 23rd of July, 12:30 to 2:30 with Mana Whakaora Arohe. And Friday the 6th, we're looking at a workshop, start of a number of workshops in terms of the cultural precinct, 9:30 to 12:30. We're also looking at trying to find a date for the grant application hearings. So potentially the 19th, 20th or the 26th, 27th of July. So we just need to confirm those. And there will be some further workshops popped in around the district plan review, the transport strategy and the water strategy. So there's still a little bit more work to be programmed in for July.
Okay, thanks, Tina. Nothing to add to those? Any cheers? Okay.
Just a friendly note for Tina, while she's scheduling everything, that the school holidays fall in July as well. I think that's
and I've got a number of councillors away as well, so just trying to juggle all of those things is going to be quite difficult, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to suit everybody's needs, so really just a heads up on that.
Okay, thanks, Tina. Right.
We tried some night meetings at Kinloch and got nobody, which was interesting.
Yeah. Tucked up by the fire by then. Slippers. Could we wear slippers, perhaps?
Some bourbon.
Buggered by then. Jane, what are you going for? Right. Okay, thank you, Tina. Nothing else? Suggested recommendation there? Overmoved, thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Right, what's next? Members' reports.
Just through the chair, I just noticed in the minutes from the last one that I was the only one that put a report in. Is this a dying agenda item? Because
there was, Kirsty put one in. Oh, the last time. I'm not too sure.
Second that, I was away, so I didn't put mine in, but I normally put one in, and I note that I'm usually one of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. So do we do them or don't we?
Well, that was the plan to do them, that's for sure. So perhaps it's a timely reminder that to get the reports in.
Yep. So we've been trying to look at a way of being able to do that online. But even if you just wanted to email it through, that would suffice in the meantime. And I know you discussed at one stage around, rather than just listing all the meetings that you've attended, that maybe it's around your portfolios and some feedback on how those things are going as opposed to meetings attended. So maybe just changing the structure of that a wee bit as well might be beneficial.
I know from my perspective what I find more valuable is reports back from members who have been to events or to conferences, or comments that might need to be are made as regards to our portfolios. To me, that's more useful than a list of the meetings that we all attended.
True. All right.
Chairman, I have a... Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You have a comment? You go.
I haven't written it up yet, but I did, because it's so daunting, there was so much information. But I went to a Developing New Zealand conference at the end of last month, and I wish we could have all gone. It was the best conference I've been to in a long, long time. The speakers were amazing. It was all based around local government, and they talked about a range of things that we need to be aware of, and I will write it up. I just haven't had time. But we had Sharon Zollner, the ANZ economist, and she talked about all of the things that are going to affect regional economies, and the fact that, and we know most of these things, but the lack of skilled and unskilled workers in particular, the fact that the government is planning for and expecting the Alpine Fault to go within the next couple of years. It's never gone longer than 301 years, and we're at 301 years. And they talked about, and that's throughout history, since we've recorded it, has never gone longer than that, and the effect that that will have on New Zealand, because it will have a huge effect, that they're making synthetic everything in the laboratory now, milk, all dairy products, meat, honey. It's going to change the face of what we do and how we do it. We had the Mayor of Queenstown speak, and no, it wasn't. It was the Chief Executive of Queenstown, and there were some real learnings in there for us, because we were mentioned many times at this conference, and they talked about us being Queenstown 20 years ago. And, you know, Queenstown has the population of New Plymouth. No, Palmerston North. I'm dyslexic. I always get them confused on any day. 50% of their infrastructure costs are for people who do not live in the area. You know, $1 million for the average house, and they compare themselves with Lake Tahoe, and they're trying not to be Lake Tahoe, where the average price is $6 million. And, you know, there's a lot for us to learn and a lot for us to prepare for, but they're telling us not to do gold-plated infrastructure. Electric cars are now going to have batteries that last for weeks and cover thousands and thousands of miles, and everyone who's invested in charging stations might not need anything like they've got, and so they're warning us to question those kinds of things. Local government are now looking to privatise a lot of their things, parking and water, which doesn't mean you don't have your water staff. It means that, sorry Kevin, I don't want to frighten you, but that a lot of it, you have a management team, but a lot of it is done privately, and it's very cost effective to do. So there was just so much learning from it. The Kiwi Rail Chief Executive spoke, and he was absolutely inspirational. The Ruapehu to Wellington line is going to be a luxury rail line. The Hokitika to Westport line is going to be luxury. The Ghana's tried to buy all of our tourism lines, and they're going to make them absolute exclusive tourism area, and that will affect us. You know, if that line goes in from Ruapehu to Wellington, that will have an effect on us. But there were just so many things that I'd never heard about for a long period of time, and I really do wish all of you could have heard it, and you probably won't even have time when I write it up to read it, but it was absolutely outstanding conference. Really, really, and thank you for sending me. It was an expensive one, but it was worth it. I will get round to writing it, I promise.
Thank you, Wish. Mine's a lot less exciting than Christine's presentation, but it is actually quite an important one with my environmental portfolio. Went to the Lakes Water Action Group meeting last Thursday, and Dennis Thurs was there, and the chap that was at Max from the vermicomposting, Noki, gave a talk, very interesting. Obviously win-win. He's obviously very happy. Obviously, and I imagine the councillors are very happy with the arrangement, even increasing the types of products like with lakeweed and green waste. Obviously, you know, has a great effect on the environmental health of our region, and also decreasing the all the stuff to the like biosolids and that's to the tip faces recycling. So yes, it was very interesting.
Good.
Yeah, it was quite a good turnout there as well. Thank you.
Is that stuff available through the garden centres?
It's through, they do it through Bunnings and through the back through Bunnings might attend. Yep.
Oh right. Yep. Back, yep. Councillor Stewart. Thanks, John.
I'd just like to put in that the board had a financial workshop with Neil, and Neil came and apologised because it would be a very dry topic, but we ran out of time because it was so interactive. The board were really interested in, and Neil presented it really, really well, so I'd like to pass on a thank you to Neil. And then we had another workshop with Robin, she flew down from Auckland to do a strategic planning with the board, and that itself as well was absolutely wonderful, and that one was well attended by the board too, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to some more things like that to get the board so that, because they're a new board and some of them are very young, and get them into the governance side and see the possibilities that they can do, and they're very receptive, so I'm really pleased.
Cool, thanks Maggie. All right.
We should just probably mention that Rosie and I attended the Lake Taupo Protection Project meeting last Friday as well.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And through the chair, Kirsty sent through last night a summarised report from the National Emergency Management Conference that we attended. I have to say, of the two, I've been to two of the three, and it was by far the best. And the learnings from Kaikoura and partnering with private sector versus rural sector versus iwi and whatnot was really interesting. But the iwi session was was quite interesting because everything they're recommending you do, we have in place. So it's about to write anything about it because.
I can send you a query back. You'll answer that at some stage. Do you want to answer that now? Or no? Okay.
And just as a matter of interest, because it's quite an interesting topic, I had the Bay of Plenty Film Commission people here the other day, you know, looking at a site, doing a bit of a recce for the potential movie here. And I guess for me, the lesson learned from that is a lot of the people that were coming to do the site visits are people that have been to this district before to visit us for mills and for other work. So it's really important, you know, the mills and the work that we do and the welcoming that we do when these people come. And that's why they've come back here, because they've been here before. So I'll update you more when it happens. But yeah, interesting.
Cool. All right, so I have a mover, please, for the reports to be accepted, please. Moved by Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Right, is that it?
Into confidence.
Yeah, okay, into confidence now. Yes, certainly. All right, could I have a mover to go into confidence for the Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Okay, just a couple of minutes.